Hey y'all, what's up? I'm SharronReneé and welcome to SharronReneé TV. And so this is my first ever episode. I'm really excited. I procrastinated for forever with creating this channel, but it is finally here. I'm finally here. We are here. So first up is Ready to Love Season 2 Episode 18. I've watched the show from its inception. I've been watching and following the show since Season 1. I fell in love with it and I was hooked. I hope that it goes on for many more seasons. And I just love Tommy. Like, I want Tommy to come and be my friend. Like, I want Tommy to come hang out with me, give me some advice. He seems very wise. So, the episode opens up with Mario and Tandy. With Tandy meeting his ex. And listen to me. When the ex revealed that Mario did not want her wearing blue nail polish, I was like, oh nah, he might Lois key be psycho. And I don't know if y'all recall, it was an episode where they had that pool party and he came to Tandy and he said, hey, listen, watch your mouth, try to cool out, try not to talk kind of crazy or whatever, the guys is talking or whatever. And she flipped out and then he was like confused, and I remember him going back to her and he was like, is this something that you dealt with in your past? Which I thought was so mature of him. And she was like, yes, I had a problem with people trying to tame me and control me and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, he like, nah, I'm not trying to do that. But all along you were, okay? You were. That was a little bit of your psycho coming out, okay? That's how I feel anyway. And for that scene, I really didn't have much else to say about it except like him being crazy about the nail polish colors. Like, it was pretty flat. I liked the maturity in the room. I feel like unlike the other couples or unlike the other exes, like they were pretty mature and they just, had the conversation. I don't really feel like they still had any like underlying feelings for each other. So that wrapped up pretty quickly. The next ex was Darren's ex. I can't remember what her name was, but what I do remember is when she walked in and he said, when they started talking about I don't know what they was talking about, but I know he said, you broke my heart, yeah, you ripped it out, or he made some sort of joke, and I just felt like that kind of made me feel like he still had some feelings for her. And then later on in the episode, I had some other things that came up that kind of like solidified it. But anyway, so the scene with the dog, like I just felt like that was very, very, very rude of Darren a little bit. Like, I understand that he wanted to see how Ashima would react to his dogs or how she would be around his dogs, but at the point in which she said, I feel uncomfortable, you could see she was physically uncomfortable, and he still did not take the dogs out. I mean, after the fact, I'm sure he took the dogs out because they wasn't in the scene anymore. But when she had to ask him to take the dogs out, I felt like, okay, that was too much, because you could see that she was uncomfortable. So why make her have to ask you to take the dogs out when you can see that she is uncomfortable? But I just don't know how their relationship is supposed to work when she doesn't like dogs, and he clearly loves his dogs. His son loves his dogs. So I know that her philosophy is like, put them in the backyard or whatever the case may be. But a lot of people don't like to treat their animals like that. And if that is him, and if he does feel like, no, I'm not going to do that to my dogs. I want them to be in the house and I want them to be locked up like some wild animals. Then I think that like he should have expressed that to her and just made that clear. But I feel like in his mind, he felt like, okay, they were not going to work. And I think that's why he really went on that date with Tandy. But we'll get to that. Wait, because then Darren made mention, or maybe it was the girlfriend who made mention about them working together. I can't remember who initially brought it up. But Ashima was like, the lies. Like, she was not here for it at all. And I could really understand that. Also, too, because like I said, I feel like they have something still between them. Like, it was kind of emanating from Darren, at least. I feel like it's something still there. So I can understand why she was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not okay with that. So then we move on to Carrie and Alexis. Listen, I have so much to say about this. I don't even know where to start. I feel like, so Alexis kind of started off with saying the reason why she was interested in Carrie was because he really understood her as a woman and her true essence and what she's all about and all of that stuff. And that's cute and that's cool. And I understand that. You know how, like, sometimes that really is the difference. You can have a guy who, you know, might look like he is who you should be with. He's super attractive, got it all going on financially or whatever the case may be, but he just doesn't really seem like he has that dire need to get to know you. And so then a guy will come along and he is so intrigued and interested in you that even if you may not have been interested in him, it kind of makes you think like, who you? Oh, hey, what's up? And so I think that is probably why she wanted to keep Carrie around. Because honestly and truly, she the only reason why Carrie was still on the show, if you want to know the true tea. Because I feel like he would have been gone. Nobody was checking for Carrie but her, especially after that situation with Reva. I just think that because initially, like later on in the episode, she ended up saying that, you know, romantically she just didn't see it for him, and I feel like she never did. But I think that because London was kind of like entertaining Divine and all of that stuff, I feel like she felt like she had to have somebody else, and he was paying her big attention, and I think that that's why she wanted to keep him around, because he was stroking her ego and making her feel like she was the most important thing, and I also feel like she was doing it to let London know, like, hey, you are not the only one who has options, like, you know. So I think that she was kind of playing the game a little bit, mixed with she just appreciated his appreciation for her. I feel like Alexis saying that Carrie was open to having kids and not actually wanting to have more kids was just her way of trying to add something to the pile of why they wouldn't work, so that way she would have a little bit more validity in eliminating him or not wanting to deal with him anymore. But but statement is still valid, but I'm just saying I think that she used that as, like, you know, a little bit of ammunition to get rid of him. Wait, because when that ex asked them to kiss, that was so awkward. And then I also felt like I wouldn't have done it if I were Alexis and I'm sitting here with you to talk to your ex or whatever the case may be, and then she requests that we kiss. Absolutely not, ma'am, and now I'm leaving. So then it segues into Darren and Tomby going on a date. And I just feel like the reason why Darren wanted to go on a date with Tomby is because he honestly does not see it for Ashima long term. And so now he is trying to see what other fish he could catch. Because he is like, this girl don't like my dogs. And my dogs is staying. So if you don't like my dogs, you can't stay. Period. And I know that he did say later on in the episode, like, oh, well, I got a car. Like, I could drive over here. I don't mind that. But I honestly just feel like, and I understand that the journey is about trying to explore and get to know everybody and see what pieces fit and what pieces don't. However, I just think that at this point in the journey, trying to get a new piece is just too much. I mean, we got what, like 4 more episodes left? Like, let's relax. Like, I think he don't see it for Ashima. That's what I think. So, it was nothing else really going on in that scene. So then we get to London and Alexis' date with his ex. And I feel like with Alexis and London, they do a lot of like pointing the finger back and forth. Like, well, I'm doing this, but you can't do it. And it's like, well, you're doing it, why can't I do it? Like, the whole thing with the dating 2 people had came up, and then they kind of start pointing the finger at each other with that. Well, you doing this, so why can't I do it? You doing it. And then when they were talking about Alexis's ex, she said that they are still in, well, I don't know if she said they still in contact. I think she said that they are still cool and they have a great relationship. And then London kind of had a problem with that Lois Key because he felt like, well, y'all just broke up a year and a half ago. And then the ex was even chiming in. And then she was like, well, it shouldn't be a problem because here's your ex sitting right here. You all remain cool. So what is the issue with me remaining cool with my ex? So they do a lot of that. And I just don't know like how I feel about that yet. Because I feel like on one end of the spectrum, I feel like it won't work. But then on the other end, I feel like it will help them to kind of look at each other and be like, okay, she literally doing the same thing I'm doing. He literally doing the same thing I'm doing. So maybe like we need to change it up. I feel like Alexis and that ex was kind of like being a little bit combative with each other. And then Alexis posed the question like, do you still have feelings for him? But I think that some people's personalities, some people, like some girls just think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna interrogate her and I'm gonna blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's not what this is about, sis. You missed the memo. That's not what we doing. Like, we just coming here to get a sense of what type of girls he like, really and truly. Like, then the ex, she kind of misconstrued what Alexis was saying, because I felt like Alexis was saying that her ex lost his mother, I believe it was, and then the relationship took a turn and it was hard to get it back to where it once was. So that statement in itself is indicative of some sort of effort. You know what I'm saying? Like there had to be some sort of try on both sides for them to come to the conclusion that they just couldn't get it back. But I think that the ex took it as Alexis just dipped off on him after his mother died. And I think that's probably also why they got a little bit combative. But I didn't take it like she was saying it. I took it like she was saying like, yeah, he hit a hard patch. I tried to stick it out with him. We tried to like figure out how to get it back, but it just couldn't go back. And so we broke up, but we still remained cool. And the ex just didn't take it like that. But listen, and then also too in that scene, somehow they got on the subject of Divine. And I just feel like I'm so sick of all of these people constantly bringing up the other person that the other person has interest in. Like, I don't know why their expectation is that the guy or the girl is only going to talk to them for the entire journey. Like, that's not going to happen. That's not what it's about. So you can't expect for a person to come into the journey and be kicking it with you from week one all the way to the end. Like, that's not how it's supposed to go. And I get that when you have a strong connection with somebody, you stick with that person. But I also feel like if you initially had a strong connection with two people, given the context of the situation, there is nothing wrong with pursuing both connections to see where they lead. That's what the show is about. It comes down to like you having to literally choose. So I'm just sick of all of these women and these men bringing up the other person that the person that they're interested in is interested in. Like, worry about you and this person. And if it ends up being that they choose you, cool. But if they don't, chalk it up to the game and keep it pushing. Okay. So then Divine and Brent go on their date. And at first I was like, okay, they got a little bit of chemistry here. Like, you know, I felt like and I still feel like they got chemistry. But it's something about Divine and her innuendos. Like, I just feel like a lot of the times she leads with a lot of like suggestive sexual commentary. And if that works for her, cool. But I just feel like sometimes it's like, girl, I feel like she could only be funny if she is making a sexual reference. But aside from that, like, I was like, okay, like, they got some chemistry. And that was cool and that was cute. But I also feel like much like Alexis, I feel like Divine, and then she was especially mad because she didn't get to meet London's ex. So I feel like that's the real reason why she went on a date with Brent. And Brent is cute. He is really, really attractive, but he just seemed kind of boring. But I did feel like she brung something out of him, and it was cool. But I feel like she just doing that because London didn't let her meet his ex. Like, that's honestly what I feel. I don't feel like she really for real want to be with Brent. And then they had that kiss. I mean, it was cool, I guess. Whatever. Then the next scene is them at the girls group meeting. Yo, Reva is tight that she did not get to meet Mario X. Like, she was like, well, I ain't get to see all that, so I don't know. Like, she just seemed very bitter. And I guess, like, I can understand because she's interested in him. But, like, I feel like he's always expressed that he had more of a connection with Tandy. So, like, did you really expect to meet his ex? I don't think she did. Well, if she did, that's why she was mad. I don't know. And then Alexis finally says that she isn't romantically attracted to Carrie. I mean, I knew it. Like, and then honestly and truly, everything else just didn't really pique my interest. But I did find it hard to believe, like, when Darren and Ashima was having their date, and she said hypothetically, what if we were to move in together or something like that, and he was like, I mean, we only been on 3 dates. Like, that's a little bit of strange talk to be having, on our 3rd date. And I was just thinking, like, they only been on 3 dates. Like, I feel like they act so lovey-dovey and pulled up anytime they film. I just assumed that they were spending crazy time outside of the tapings, but they only been on 3 days. That was crazy. So that's a wrap. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll be back next week. The trailer looks lit for the next episode, so I can't wait to review that. Peace.